Welcome. In this masterclass, I'm going to show you 3 steps to becoming a trusted and respected leader who delivers results. I call this leadership excellence. There are 3 major danger signals or warning signs that prevent leaders from achieving their full potential. And I want to call them out today so you know what to watch for. And of course, I want to suggest a solution for each of them. And then I'm going to lay out a step-by-step roadmap to guide you from wherever you are now on your leadership journey to becoming that truly world-class leader. That's a lot to pack in, so let's get started. I've created this training for experienced team members with between 10 and 200 staff who want to become a better, more effective leader. And when you follow the steps that I'm going to lay out here, you're going to become more confident about making an impact. You'll be valued by your team and trusted and respected within your organisation. And this will be really particularly relevant for you if you're a leader in the finance or the insurance industry, in the health, aged care, education, or a government organisation. These industries have really tight external compliance, so getting leadership right is critical to your success. Now, you'll get the most from this session if you can take a few notes, but if you can't, because you're watching this on the go or you just want to relax and focus on the content, then what I've done is I've prepared a great training guide that accompanies this masterclass, which you can download for free from performanceadvisorygroup.com.au/training. And you'll find the link or the download button on this page as well. If we haven't met, just quickly, my name is Kylie Denton. I'm a leadership expert and the owner and director of Performance Advisory Group. And each day I get to work with leaders who struggle to lead people. So I absolutely understand how it makes you feel and also how it impacts the organisation, the teams and the individuals around you. And the struggle is real. And because I also have formal qualifications in psychology, I just know how complex people are. It does not matter how smart you are. If you don't know how to work with people, you're just never going to be successful. I've studied the habits and behaviours of the world's most successful leaders such as Jack Welch, John Maxwell, Brian Tracy and Richard Branson. And what I've learned is that there is no such thing as a natural born leader. Leadership is most definitely a skill, and this skill can be learned by anyone who chooses to become a better leader and a more effective leader. After spending more than 30 years working with over 700 leaders, I've been able to really codify what makes an excellent leader. And this has led me to create a series of programs that develop these successful leadership habits and qualities in others in less than 6 months. So let's begin this short training by just examining where things can go wrong, and we'll look at some dangers or warning signals that will get in the way of you becoming the leader that you could be. The first sign of trouble is low confidence, and this can often be the case with leaders who find themselves constantly busy reacting to what's going on around them. When you're being pulled in all directions from pillar to post, it can kind of feel like you're out of control. It's like when everything is urgent but nothing important is getting done. And perhaps you've made a few changes, you might have kicked off a few initiatives, but they tend to fizzle out because you're just not able to maintain that sort of consistency. And when this goes on for any length of time, the stress and the overwhelm just erodes your self-confidence and you actually start to doubt your own ability. Low confidence is bad news for leaders, so it really is that first roadblock to overcome. The second red flag is low productivity from teams. So this is when individuals under you, they're just not doing their job properly. They might be missing deadlines, they're not delivering on KPIs or expectations. And that makes you look bad. You know, good people leave because they don't feel valued, while bad people stick around and make the workplace toxic. When your team is underutilized or underperforming like this, results suffer and you know you should do something. But for many, they just don't know what to do next. And that's why we've got to address that problem of low productivity. The third warning sign is low engagement across the organisation. And the stakes are higher at this level because low engagement negatively affects revenue. But it could also cause issues with governance and compliance. Mistrust and a lack of accountability has people watching their backs or covering their tracks or for some just going through those motions. Or we actually see quiet quitting. And quiet quitting refers to doing the absolute minimum requirements of one's job and putting in no more time, effort or enthusiasm than is absolutely necessary. In environments like this, it becomes really difficult for leaders to meet their own strategic goals as they neglect their executive or their leadership duties by getting bogged down in the operational details, which, by the way, is also the fastest way to lose respect. Now, I don't know which one of these problems you can relate to the most right now, whether it's low confidence, low productivity, or low engagement, but I want to be able to fix those for you today. Before I get too deep into the solutions, remember there's a free training guide that accompanies this masterclass that you can download from performanceadvisorygroup.com.au/training, and you'll find the link or the download button on this page. And also, if you want to know more about how our programs can transform your leadership skills in just 6 to 12 weeks, you'll find details on where to get some more information in this guide as well. Now, to truly feel successful as a leader, I've identified 3 shifts that you need to make during your journey. Our ultimate destination is to transform your thoughts and actions to a point where you spend the majority of your time on strategic thinking and on building the relationships that will help you to achieve the results you set out to achieve. This is leadership excellence. So, number 1, low confidence. The first shift is really to build up your confidence by becoming that confident and competent self-leader. You know, I often say to leaders that you cannot grow others unless you grow yourself. Do you agree? We'll talk about this in just a minute. Number 2, instead of low productivity, what we do is we start building a happy and a high-performing, goal-driven team that gets results. And the way we do that is by becoming a coaching leader. A coaching leader is the leader of the future, and I'll show you the main drivers for that as well. And number 3 is instead of low engagement, we work on creating a culture in our organisation where people are engaged and inspired and leaders are trusted and respected. Business is about relationships and how well you build them really determines how well they build you. Once you master all these 3 phases, you'll find relationships improve and results just naturally flow from that. And you really become recognized and rewarded for the work that you do, and you truly feel successful about the contribution that you're making. So let's begin with the first shift, which is really how do we address the problem of low confidence by becoming that confident and competent self-leader. When it comes to being a confident and competent self-leader, the first thing we do is really set you up for success. And we start by learning how to lead yourself. Few individuals ever really reach their full potential as leaders, and it's not because they lack technical abilities. It's rather that they haven't embraced the fundamental journey of self-leadership. The problem when you don't lead yourself first is you're constantly being pulled in all directions. It's a bit like a rudderless ship, and that's why you feel out of control. So remember, the law of self-awareness, you've got to know yourself to grow yourself. And when you join one of our leadership programs, I'll show you how to take back control of leading yourself first so that you can become well organized, better prepared, and therefore more confident. The next thing we do is to help you become more productive so you can actually get stuff done. If you find that you're always busy and you reach the end of the day without actually have achieved the really important work, you'll know what I mean. It's those days when your inbox fills up, your to-do list just quickly snowball out of control, and your plate is absolutely stuffed full, leaving you really stressed and feeling overwhelmed. And I think you get stuck in that loop of reacting to urgent yet unimportant work because it feels quicker sometimes to do it yourself than to delegate it. So you're going to uninstall those systems that really engage you or enable you to prioritize the important over the urgent and delegate effectively so that you can actually achieve the outcomes that matter in a really timely and efficient and an effective manner. And what from that is you'll calmly start to feel like you're getting stuff done, you're proactive, and therefore you're more productive. And then, of course, we need to make sure that you're just not relying on willpower and motivation to maintain that success, because there's a real finite and exhaustible resource right there. If you've taken productivity or time management courses before and you've just been unable to keep it up or stick to it once your enthusiasm has worn off, it's probably because you haven't yet fully developed that successful leadership habits that really make it second nature to you. Success is a habit. You actually become what you repeatedly do. Our Leadership Excellence programs helps you really identify and develop consistently successful leadership habits and make them permanent. And as you start getting consistent, you notice that it's much easier to inspire yourself, but also those around you as well. And you'll be able to effortlessly enter your natural flow state where work feels like it's easy and it's enjoyable, but most importantly, it's also meaningful too. So there are the first 3 steps to really becoming that confident and competent leader. It's taking control by getting organized and prepared. It's proactively getting stuff done by prioritizing the important. And it's about adopting and maintaining that consistent success habits. And you can't grow others unless you're growing yourself, that leading self. Let me quickly tell you a story about Scott Shallon, one of our clients. So Scott's he's from Brisbane, Australia, and he's the owner and director of the QHI Group. So a licensed builder, building material supplier, and manufacturer of prefabricated home improvement solutions. In mid-2021, when Scott made the move to buy out his business partner, he realised that he was just about to become the sole owner and the CEO of the QHI Group. And although the business was already profitable and well established, it lacked that structure and culture to take it to the next level. He also became aware of his own personal limitations as a leader at this level. He was particularly uncomfortable with the number of what he called loose ends, given the pace of growth his organisation was experiencing at the time. And as we unpack Scott's challenges and ideas, we really identified a need for a more structured leadership program and sales conversation framework within the company. And the implementation of a leadership training and conversation framework was a real game changer for Scott. He was able to establish a baseline for almost all of his interactions internally and externally of the business, and he now refers back to his training for the refresh sessions that he holds regularly with his team. And the result is that Scott now has a professional team of leaders that lead with a consistent approach to leadership. His business has a clear focus areas that get outcomes and they deliver results, along with this culture of real high performance. But most importantly for Scott is he's able to think at a higher level. He's able to focus on the strategy and where the business and the team are leading and heading. What would a transformation like Scott's do for you? Next, I want to talk about how do we now transform low productivity into a happy, high-performing and goal-driven team that gets results. The first thing is to build a team that works together and is stronger together. A common mistake that leaders often make is they're trying to performance manage inefficient and unproductive individuals. This is really like treating symptoms rather than addressing the root cause of the problem, and it can backfire. A common saying to leaders of teams is that there's no I in team. A high-performing team is far more than just a group of star individuals, and we need to manage the team, not the individuals. When we lead and develop the team as a whole, each individual really understands each other's strengths and can work with them. And what we end up with is a team that is united by their shared identity or vision, and they're incredibly clear on their combined purpose and how they can best support and work with each other. A team that relies on each other and just works together in harmony so that everyone can succeed. And this is really empowering for everyone involved. Quite often what I find is missing here is that lack of strategy or a real clear plan to follow. And when there's a lack of clarity and direction because either the goalposts always appear to be shifting or because it's just not clear, even the best people get confused and they actually start to work on the wrong things because they're actually not sure of what the focus is. So we often see lots of busy but sort of not moving us into the right direction. We've got to get the strategy right and we've got to come up with a plan to succeed. We then need to communicate it clearly to others so everyone knows where we're going and what they must do to get there. And when we have a proper plan in place, your people will be motivated and driven by the goals. And you'll see morale improve. Each team member will happily do their job on purpose, which makes getting results almost inevitable. And I say almost because there's one more piece to building a high-performing, goal-driven team that really gets results. And that's really about being able to attract and retain the best people. Many leaders struggle with this because it's usually because of the Peter principle, which really states that your reward for your success and achievements so far is a promotion to a leadership role that you actually haven't been trained or equipped to do. You know, to put it bluntly, you simply haven't been taught how to lead people. And that's okay. It's not your fault. You know, no one's taught you how to lead people. And as I've said before, leading people is complex. And leading teams is even more complex. There's no such thing as a natural born leader. Leadership is a skill that anyone can learn at any time. Google's done some ongoing research called the Project Oxygen, and it started back in 2008, and it identified 10 factors of leaders who can lead effectively. And the number one factor was the best leaders are great coaches. Coaching leaders are the leaders of the future. And they are able to influence, they're able to motivate, they're able to inspire others to greatness. We also know from research that coaching leaders attract and retain the best people. So there are your next 3 drivers for building a high-performing, goal-driven team. So imagine if you were leading a team with a high work ethic that was stronger together, if you had a real solid plan to succeed that everyone brought into, and you coached your team to success with the mindset of a coaching leader, do you think your team would be more productive and get results? Of course it would, right? If you feel like you're ready to transform your team's performance, our leadership programs were created specifically for leaders like you. Take Mick Doyle, for example. Mick is the General Manager of Account Plan in Redcliffe, Australia. In the past, his experience with leadership development programs always brought inconsistent or short-term changes and results. You know, we helped him provide a longer-term solution by developing their leaders with not just what to do, but also how to do it. You see, for me, many leaders are put into leadership roles because they're good at what they do, but no one's ever shown them how to lead people. And I've said it before, but people are complex. I've got a background in psychology. I know that. When leaders know how to lead people, they can make an impact. They get the results they need, and they see the people and the business grow, which in turn just gets those long-term results and behaviour change. Now, all the leaders, current and future, have a really clear framework in Mick's team, and they can lead with a way that gives their business the very, very best chance at continued success. What would a transformation like this do for you and your team, or for the people that you lead? Hopefully, you're beginning to get a bit of a feel of which of these drivers or accelerators are going to move the needle most for you as a leader. Let's finally examine the third and final shift for today's session, which is really to address the issue of low engagement by leading leaders towards a more engaged and inspired organisation. It's pretty straightforward. If you're struggling to meet all of your strategic goals, it's probably because the leaders in your organisation are working in silos or they're not collaborating with each other. And yes, when you're not meeting your goals, your reputation is on the line, isn't it? It's your brand. But this is not the time to start to feel like you're failing, or even to start feeling sorry for yourself. There's just too much at stake at this level. At this level, it's really important to understand that you'll get what you need by working with others to get what they need. It's really time to collaborate with your peers and find out what your most common goals are so that you can achieve the common organisation goals. A Stanford study from a few years ago found even the mere perception of working collectively on a task can supercharge our performance. And a similar study of over 1,100 companies found that those that promoted collaborative working were 5 times as likely to be high performing. Our leadership programs show you how to build a collaborative culture within the company. Imagine how it would actually feel to notice others actively helping you to achieve your goals and you doing the same for them. Trust is the foundation of successful teams. Patrick Lencioni talks about trust being the foundation of a high-performing teams, and I totally agree. Lencioni identified 5 factors that characterise dysfunctional teams. It was an absence of trust, fear of conflict, lack of commitment, low accountability, and inattentive to results. And Google's project Aristotle also identified 5 factors, but the number one factor that they share is that presence or absence of psychological safety. We must reverse the blame culture where no one will speak up or speak out, and instead install that culture of accountability and trust where people feel safe and supported in sharing their ideas, and they're not afraid to call each other out when standards drop. When we have an environment like this, leaders really hold themselves accountable and they hold each other accountable, and your people feel like they can trust you and they can depend on you to do the right thing. And this trust and transparency really translates into that even higher levels of engagement. You need to develop what I call that executive mindset to really earn the respect of others in your organisation and in your industry. Executive leaders or senior leaders, they just can't afford to focus narrowly. They're responsible for the overall performance, and they really need to operate with a different mindset, different behaviours, and a set of competencies. If you truly want to inspire and empower those around you, you must be a leader who is respected and trusted. An executive mindset is really about being able to move freely from strategy to tactics and understand the linkages across the organisation, and then have that ability to balance the short-term and the long-term concerns. And that's really how you build that collaborative, engaged and inspired organisation where people are engaged and they're inspired and the leaders are trusted and respected. Remember what I said at the start. Business is about relationships, and how well you build them determines how well they build you. We offer leadership programs to support wherever you are on your journey towards leadership excellence. Now let me introduce you to another one of my clients. Diane Smith is Head of Finance, Service Delivery at Griffith University. Diane found it really hard to make time for the important strategic work because of the interruptions from her leaders and their team members who frequently, without being aware of it, place demands on her time. Once we knew and we actually start to begin that work on developing the leaders within her organisation, within her team, we were able to free up time for Diane to have time to think and that strategic work that's expected of her in her role. And the team members noticed this shift, and they even commented on the growth that they had seen in their leaders. They now look to the leader who is leading them for inspiration. And as a result of working together, Diane now has a team of leaders that are confident and competent, and a team that is achieving goals and performing at a much higher level than ever before. And essentially what she's attained is that leadership excellence for herself and her leaders and her team. What would a transformation like Diane's do for your organisation? And there we have it. We've covered the 3 most common problems that prevent leaders from achieving their full potential, which is low confidence, low productivity and low engagement. I've shown you on the 3 phases or shifts you need to make or go through to either fix or avoid these problems. Leading yourself to become a confident and competent leader, leading others to work together as a high-performing, goal-driven team, and then finally leading leaders to really build an engaged and inspired organisation. And you now have a roadmap, the proven milestones to guide you all the way to leadership excellence in the fastest possible way. If you would like to develop your leadership excellence, or you think you might be ready and interested in joining one of our leadership programs, then all you have to do is download the training guide that accompanies this masterclass, and you'll be taken to a special page where you'll get the opportunity to book a private and a confidential one-on-one call with me or one of my team, where we can brainstorm a real clear plan for you. And there'll be a link or a download button on this page to do that. So let me sign off by reminding you that the world is crying out for good leaders right now. Thank you for your commitment to becoming a better leader and for giving me your attention today. I really look forward to speaking with you soon.